Thank y'all for choosing to spend another video with me today. I'm going to take y'all along as I pack and prepare foods for our family vacation next week. So we're going to the beach 4 nights, 5 days, and I'm going to show y'all everything I'm making, preparing food-wise, snack-wise, how I pack all of that, and just kind of why we prepare foods like this. So I've told before about how when we go on vacation, I pack 90% of our food. My husband really likes going out to eat, but that gets really expensive. We have a larger family now. We have to get food for our children, so it gets expensive really quick. I mean, even if just my husband and I go out to eat, it's very expensive. But also, it's very hard to find high quality restaurants. We went on vacation a few months ago and I was looking for something on the menu to eat, and the only thing that really was that I could feed my children and myself was shrimp. And but it was fried, so I asked what it was fried in. Of course, it was canola oil, and then I asked could they were like, well, we can grill it for you. I was like, okay, perfect. And I was like, what's it gonna be grilled in? They're like, it'll probably be grilled in canola oil as well. I was like, do you have any other options? So they did do butter for me, but it's like you have to go around the world to ask, and that's fine, you can't ask, and they will make accommodations, but honestly it's just easier not to just eat in their condo. We have 4 nights to prepare for. We are going with another family friends, and they're gonna cook one night, we're gonna cook one night, we're gonna go out to dinner one night, and the 4th night is gonna be the night we get there. It's just gonna be something easy I'm gonna put together. So I'm gonna show you everything I'm making. Today I'm making spaghetti sauce. That's gonna be for our family together dinner. Spaghetti. And then later in the weekend I'll make some French bread to pack and take closer to time of leaving. Now how I've planned all of this is I make a list of everything I'm making, everything I need for the trip, even like condiments, things I just need to grab and throw in the cooler. Yes, we could buy all this there, and we will buy some things there, but it is so much less expensive to buy here and take with us than to buy at like a travel destination where things are higher. There's only usually Publix there, or there's some Walmarts, but Publix has better quality food, but it's very expensive. So I just like to pack as much as I can, even like butter, because we're taking coolers anyway. We're taking milk, so we have to take coolers anyway, and it's just easier to pack it if I can. We'll buy things like produce when we get there, but as I was saying, is I make a list of everything I need to pack, everything I need to prepare, and then I go back and then I backtrack. What can I make the earliest prior to the trip? So that's today. Today's Thursday. We're not leaving till Tuesday. So I'm gonna make the spaghetti sauce today, freeze it. I'm gonna make brownies today, freeze them. Muffins today, freeze them. Pot pies. They're a trick I have is to make make a dinner that you're taking on the trip, but also make a double batch and keep it at home in your freezer for the night you get home. This is something I don't always do, and it's always kind of frustrating to come home from vacation and then have to figure out what you're gonna cook for dinner. We usually try to eat up leftovers from the vacation, but we're usually tired of those by then. So I'm gonna make a pot pie to keep in the freezer, so when we get home from our vacation, I can pull it out of the freezer and cook it, and we'll already have dinner. So we usually get home right around dinner time, if not late afternoon, and after traveling, I never want to like cook a full meal. And then I'm gonna ferment loaf bread. We're gonna make a lot of sandwiches when we are at the beach, so I need a lot of loaf bread for that, and then I'll slice it and freeze it. I'm gonna ferment the bread today, mix up the dough, and then bake it tomorrow, and then I'm also gonna make our popsicles. I hope y'all enjoy seeing what we are packing and taking to the beach and how I prepare all of this. It's just easier, but I know it might be kind of a hassle up front to make everything, but I just break it down by days. Today's gonna be the biggest bulk of the day. You can see Thursday's list is a lot longer than Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's list. And I break it down like this, so I'm not preparing everything all in one day, because I have children who need me throughout the day, and I have to stop and start. So it's easier just to break it into little chunks a few days before we leave and prepare things that way. Whatever I can put in the freezer is perfect, because then it can go into the cooler, the ice chest, and keep other things cold while we're traveling. We've done this a lot. I've come pretty used to how this works and how to get everything packed and ready, and that's just how we prepare for vacation. So I hope y'all enjoy spending today and a couple of other days with me packing for vacation, and hope this might motivate you and make it a little less intimidating if you're wanting to pack more for a family vacation, a camping trip, a weekend getaway, and are just kind of overwhelmed at the process. Because once you break it down little by little, have lists, have notes, have little separated to-do lists per day, makes it a lot less intimidating. So my mom and dad are actually coming up today to visit, so this is why I put a large chunk of the to-do list on today, because they can play with my children a lot, and I can really focus on knocking out this list for today. So I'm starting out with a lot of chopping for the spaghetti sauce, as well as the pot pies that I'm making to freeze for when we get home. We're going to take one of the pot pies with us, and one of them will go in the freezer to take home to eat when we get home. So I'm just getting all the chopping done for that. So to make the pot pies, I just chop out the vegetables. You see here I'm pulling some leftover roast from previously in the week and adding it to that mixture. I always am doing that, just pulling bits of meat from here or there to add to a dish. So this is technically going to be a turkey pot pie. This is going to be a wild turkey my husband harvested last spring, and we are pulling it out of the freezer. I cooked it, boiled it, and then we'll shred it for the pot pie. But a little bit of roast meat is not going to hurt added to that dish as well, just to add a little extra protein. So that's how I make the pot pie. We will thicken it with some flour. I just milled some flour to make the pie crust for the pot pie. So a little bit of that will go into the vegetable filling with broth to thicken it up and make that thicker roux type sauce for the pot pie. So that's what I'm working on now, is starting the pie crust. So I told you at the beginning of this year that making pies was on my to-do list for this year at mastering, and I finally found a recipe that works very well. I shared it a while back in making cinnamon toast cereal. We use the same recipe for cereal, so I make it in a blender because I don't have a food processor. That's something I highly need to add to my kitchen tools. But you add all the ingredients to a blender, pulse it a few times, kind of like you would a food processor, dump it, roll it out. Immediately roll it out. That's the thing I think I was having trouble with pie crust, is I was leaving it in discs like most pie crusts do, and then I was trying to roll it out and it was getting too hot and sticky and the butter was melting. I always do start with frozen butter as well. So these pie crusts are going to go in the fridge for about 15 minutes just while I finish up the meat filling, and then I will actually make the pot pies. So my pies are looking a lot better than they did. I'm actually able to close my pies now, like a top crust will meet a bottom crust, and I can close them. So that is an improvement. I don't have beautiful pies yet, but they are they have come a long way. That was just a learning curve of mine in a from scratch kitchen, is making pretty pies. They always tasted well, but you want to make stuff look pretty and presentable when you're cooking for your family. For the most part, I try. It's not always perfect, and they're always fed, but making things look appealing and appetizing is always a plus when you're cooking. So here I now separated the two mixtures so I could add the meat, because we are making two pot pies, one to take with us for the trip and one to have the night we get home from the trip. And this worked out wonderfully. I was already going to be making it, why not make a double? And you can do this with any recipe. Like if you're cooking on a weeknight and you think, oh, we have a trip coming up later this month, let me make a double batch and freeze it, and that way when we come home from our trip we'll have this meal again, and it will be simple and nothing to think about. I'll just pull it out of the freezer, pop it in the oven, and we'll have dinner when we get home from traveling. It's something I don't always think about, but it saves me so much time and mental thought when I do. Putting the filling in the pot pies now, then we'll add that top layer, and then they're ready for the freezer. So these two meals took a total of about 30 minutes, 40 minutes maybe to make, with very little effort, but so well worth it. So I'm adding the top crust on now. I will cut the edges off. I used to, when I would make pie crust, I never had edges to cut off. It was like my pie crust always shrunk. But like I said, we've come a long way. They're not beautiful yet, but I can actually close my pies now. The top does meet the bottom, and I can close them up and make a more presentable pie. All that's really in these is onions, peppers, carrots, turkey, broth, a little bit of flour to thicken, seasonings. Pretty basic, but so delicious. All right, for the topping, I'm gonna roll out another pie crust. So this is a total of 4 pie crusts. The pie crust recipe I use makes double, so I made the recipe twice, and then I'm just topping the pies. So the second round, I'm not actually gonna chill the pie crust. If you're working with frozen butter and you work fast enough, it will work just fine. It peeled away just fine from the parchment paper to meet that top of that pie crust. Before I get those pie crusts stored, my daughter and I are starting on some loaves of bread. This is just our basic sourdough sandwich loaf bread with freshly milled flour. I've shared this recipe at some point. I know I shared it in my grain ebook recipe video where I talk about my grains and starting with freshly milled flour. I shared it there. It's just a basic sandwich loaf. I will make this now. I have it already sliced and then freeze it so that it's as fresh as it can be for when we get to our vacation destination. Okay, to store these pie crusts, I do not love using tinfoil, and I don't really ever use tinfoil, except when we go on vacation or if I'm storing something for like a party or an event. I don't cook with tinfoil, I strictly use it to store things. So I'm putting parchment paper on first, then the tinfoil on top to store this. Like I said, not my optimal storage option, but it's very seldom that I use tinfoil and I don't cook with it, so it is okay to freeze something with tinfoil every now and again. So these pot pies are ready to go in the freezer. One will travel with us to vacation and the other will stay here for when we get home to eat that night. Moving to the spaghetti sauce. So I mentioned you at the beginning of this video that my mom and dad came up for the day. So my mom just jumped in to help me in the kitchen. She was happy to help when my dad was playing with the children for a little while. So she was just helping me get all of the sauce and the tomato paste all dumped in the spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti sauce is actually really easy to make. You just kind of cook your meat, cook your vegetables, add your sauce, add tomato paste. If needed, check for your desired consistency. I do like to home make all of my tomato sauce, which I'll probably be sharing a video soon on how I make tomato sauce for the year. I shared one a couple of years ago. If you want my homemade tomato sauce from our tomatoes from our garden recipe, we had to use store-bought sauce here, like a high quality sauce here, because we just ran out of our homemade tomato sauce from last year. Okay, it is the next day and I am moving on to making popsicles. You can also see those loaves of bread that my daughter and I fermented the day before. They are now cooked and cooling here on the counter as I'm making these popsicles. So the popsicles are going to be for the beach. We made the mistake of taking them to the beach one day and not eating them until the afternoon, and they were melted. We had to refreeze them, but the next day we ate them when we first got to the beach. It was a delicious treat for my children to eat while my husband and I were getting everything set up, the tent, the chairs, all of that. So the popsicle recipe was just frozen fruit. We used blackberries and blueberries, yogurt, lemon juice, and maple syrup, and I did add a splash of milk, of raw milk, to help the consistency be able to pour. These were so good. Also made a strawberry version of this, so instead of the blackberries and the blueberries, we used strawberry. That's the second batch you see here. My children love these. I need to continue making them through the summer because we have our county fair coming up soon in a few weeks, and they love having these at the county fair because there's a lot of those fruit dye push pops there at the fair that other children are eating, and I like having this option for my children to eat that is real ingredients. Okay, so it is now the day before the trip. I'm making the last minute things, so I'm making mayonnaise to make cucumber salad, turkey salad, which is like chicken salad. We just have turkey meat instead of chicken, turkey that my husband harvested last spring. So this is how you make mayonnaise. It used to be intimidating to me to make mayonnaise, but then because I would see people make mayonnaise with the egg and the mustard and the lemon juice and the olive oil, and they would mix their immersion blender like 3 or 4 times, and they would have this thick mayonnaise, and mine never turned out. And then I realized I just needed to give it time. I don't have a very expensive immersion blender. It's like a $20 one from Amazon, so I have to give mine a little more time. My mayonnaise takes more like 3 minutes to make after gently pulsing and emulsifying the egg and the oil together. But you see here, it turns out to be a very thick, creamy mayonnaise that is so much better than store-bought kind. Now, I'm not using the highest quality olive oil here. It's just what we have at our store. I am using extra light olive oil so that it doesn't have a weird flavor. I've used avocado oil. I've used coconut oil. The only problem with using coconut oil is when you refrigerate it, you get a hard mayonnaise. So I don't mind using olive oil in small instances like this. Again, always balance. I'm not perfect at everything. We try to find the best options for our family, but even this not so perfect olive oil is better than eating out all the time on vacation. So that's our mayonnaise. Now I'm moving on to making a little dressing for a cucumber salad. So this is just vinegar, mayonnaise, Greek yogurt, salt and pepper. I'm gonna pour this over some chopped cucumbers from our garden because we have so many cucumbers right now. I wanna take that abundance of cucumbers with us on vacation, so it's not going to waste those good benefits of the vegetables, produce we've grown in our backyard. So this cucumber salad is delicious. It was absolutely delicious snacking on this at the beach. So light, so refreshing, so hydrating. I love cucumbers in the summer, and I just know that's why God gave us cucumbers in the summer, to hydrate us. They are so hydrating when you are hot at the beach or outside working or whenever you're outside a lot. Okay, the last thing we're making here as far as like a mayonnaise salad is the turkey salad, which is just like chicken salad. It's just mayonnaise, turkey meat, seasonings. I'm adding some cilantro, some fresh cilantro. This is not homegrown. This is from the grocery store. I just keep it in a jar of water to keep it fresh. I'm gonna add some finely chopped onions, some tomatoes, and these are gonna go on sandwich wraps for our first travel day. So we actually travel, when we travel, we always pack our lunches. I packed breakfast and lunches for travel days. For breakfast, we usually have boiled eggs, homemade muffins, fruit, something like that. And then for lunch, we have some sort of like a wrap or a sandwich. So on this day, I'm making this turkey salad wrap for our lunches. It's just easier than stopping. It's healthier than stopping, especially with a bunch of children that we want to feed well. I make a priority to feed our children well all the time, but especially when we're going to be out in the sun, because when your body is full of toxins from seed oils and bad ingredients, which is not something we eat all the time, but if we were to go out to eat, we would definitely be eating some form of seed oils, which is not good to be in our bodies at all, but especially when we're going to be in the sun, because that oxidation process causes inflammation, causes more burning when we're out in the sun. So making these foods at home takes a little more effort, but it is well worth it. So the last thing you'll see me doing here is making the homemade tortillas. This is our tried and true tortilla recipe. We make this every Sunday for taco day. I make it for sandwich wraps like this. I'm just making the tortillas, these fermented overnight. Add a little bit of cheese too, and the turkey salad, and wrap them up for a little sandwich wrap. These were very delicious for traveling. They travel very well. And that is going to wrap up our meal prep for our beach trip. So we made the spaghetti sauce, we made the pot pies to freeze. I told y'all one night my friend was going to cook for our family, and the other night we were going to go out to dinner. So that was our beach prep planning. I also made some snacky type foods, some homemade brownies, some muffins, things like that to have on hand. And then we bought fresh produce once we were there. We had a really good trip. We are back now when I'm filming this voiceover, but I always just am so grateful to put in the work ahead of time when we get on vacation and I just have all these foods ready. We can have them in our room, come back from the beach, take them with us to the beach or wherever we're traveling for that trip. It's just so convenient. It's so much more budget friendly. It's so much healthier. It takes a little bit of planning up front. There's a lot of work on the forefront, and I'm usually like, wow, I have a lot of food to make when I'm initially starting, but it's so worth it when we get on our trip. We have these delicious, nourishing foods from our home. We can still feed our bodies well and feel our best while we're on vacation and not sluggish and kind of bloated from inevitably what happens, at least for myself, when I eat at restaurants. So hope y'all enjoy spending these few meal prep days with me, and I will talk to y'all in my next video.